Hello. Addiction is not a disease. Why? Because I say so. That's good enough for you? All right. Well, let's talk about it then. So I don't think addiction is a disease. I guess technically it is by definition of disease, which negates what I'm saying here. But let me just give you the dictionary definition of disease so we know where we're starting from. A disorder or structure, no, a disorder of structure or function in a human, animal, or plant, especially one that produces specific signs or symptoms or that affects a specific location and is not simply a direct result of physical injury. So, if I guess if you break your leg, it's mechanical, it's physical injury, so that's not a disease. But if your leg hurts, then it could be a disease. Right. So, why? So, all right, hang on. Well, let's keep going here. Then they have a secondary definition, which takes it out of the realm of physical biology, medical world. It says a particular quality, habit, or disposition regarded as adversely affecting a person or group of people. So, if that's what you want to call a disease, then a whole lot of things are diseases. Debt crisis in everywhere is a disease. The way people spend their money and all that kind of stuff. So, when we call addiction a disease, I don't know. I guess let me tell you a little story. It's boring. Buckle up. So in 2014, I started working as a substance abuse clinician for a clinic, and I did not have experience in the field. I studied psychology, which got me in the door, and I'm just a great person, so they hired me. I think that's exactly why that agency hired me, even though they don't feel that way now about me. It didn't go so well when I ended working there. I was in the right, I personally believe, but of course we all would in that situation. Try not to defame anybody on YouTube. I'll do my best. All right, so I started working there. I didn't have a lot of background in this field. I didn't have any background in this field, and I didn't understand. I'm losing my voice. I guess this is why people edit their videos. They cut out stuff like that, but not me. And I was told when I started out that addiction is a disease. I had this little light thing and it keeps turning off. I guess it's going to turn off again if it's not plugged in. I don't have a cable long enough to plug in from here though. And so I just accepted that addiction was a disease because that's what I was told, and it made sense to me. I said, okay, yeah, it's something that's outside of a person's control. They experience these cravings. It's physical, it's biological, it changes the brain, all of this stuff. It's a disordered way of living. So yeah, it's a disease. I went with it. But then I also felt at the time, which I felt was good, was that it took some of the shame and stigma off of the addiction, that it wasn't about a person's failed choices or moral disintegration, because I don't think that it's those things at all. But I think that oftentimes people think that it's those things, and then so by calling it a disease kind of takes it out of their hands, that, well, look, I have a disease, there's nothing I could have done about it. And I think that becomes a scapegoat or a cop-out in some cases. That light went off again. And I don't know that that's helpful to a person to take away that level of responsibility. Now, the same thing can happen with physical. I guess that light needs to be. I don't think I need that light though. It's this little thing. You hook on and you can do this. It lights up. But I guess this other light is good enough. I think looks fine as is. And so with diabetes or a physical malady like that, I think we tend to look at it, if it's a disease, then it's something that is beyond our control. And I don't believe that any of these things are beyond our control. I think that it's all within our control. So, anyway, so I went along with it at first, but then I started to see, as I was talking to people and getting to know people, at first it made sense to call addiction a disease, and to take that weight off of a person so they could then start to address it. But then I started to feel like some people, that was where they stopped. Well, I have a disease, so I'll always need to be treated. I'll always need to go to the doctors. I'll always need to go to the experts. I'll always need to be on medication for this disease. This is my disease. And then you start to own your disease. This is my disease. And So then you become complacent with that categorization, and that becomes part of your personality, like we talked about with the thoughts to choices to actions to personal personality to personal reality. You start to incorporate this thing. Oh, now I have a disease called addiction, and then there's no looking for curing necessarily. It's just treating it, and that's the medical model. The medical model is all about treating the symptoms and not never, but oftentimes treating the symptoms rather than looking at what the cause is. I had years ago, I had gallstones. I'm probably going to mention this all the time because it's relevant. But my doctor said, have your gallbladder removed. But I had done some research on it. I didn't know what a gallbladder was at the time, but I did some research on it and found that you can live without a gallbladder, but you can also live with a gallbladder even if you've got gallstones. And you can, because the problem is actually the liver. So if we take the gallbladder out, we're treating the symptom, not the cause, which is a fatty liver. So change my lifestyle, change my diet and nutrition, and I can improve the quality of my liver, which is going to be good for me all around, and I get to keep my gallbladder. So here I am 5 years later, I have my gallbladder, and I have no pain, no symptoms. So by addressing the cause, it is possible to eliminate the symptoms. Makes sense. So if we call addiction a disease, then I feel like we stop looking for the cause, stop looking for a cure, and we rely on treatment. And that's where I don't like it. But so I guess, looking at those definitions, of course, addiction is a disease. Pretty much anything's a disease. Being tired can be a disease. Not wanting to go to work or school is a disease, if you define it by that second looser definition. So addiction, sure, it's a disease, but does that help you get past it? I see addiction as a pattern of behavior. Now, usually unwanted. If it wasn't unwanted, we wouldn't call it an addiction. We'd call it a habit. So if it's just because it's unwanted, we call it an addiction, well, great, and that's the definition of addiction, is an unwanted habit. But it comes down to a pattern of conditioned behavior and thought and behavior. And which is what I'm talking about in all this stuff, is stop recovering, stop focusing on that, stop participating in that habit, change your thoughts, change the way you approach this habit and pattern of behavior, and then you can change your outcome. And so I don't like to call it a disease because I think it focuses on the symptoms and doesn't focus on the cure, the cause and the cure. And if we don't call it a disease, we call it a pattern of behavior, then we say, okay, well, what caused the pattern of behavior? What can lead to a new pattern of behavior? And if it's just a pattern of behavior, not just, but just, you know what I'm saying? Like not simplify, not insignificantly a pattern of behavior, but also it's not more than a pattern of behavior. It's what it is. I don't know, I just need to clarify that just in that element, but it's a pattern of behavior, which means that it can be changed. And then that means that it's not lifelong and it's not debilitating. And though it changes your biology temporarily, biology can be changed. If it changed to the point where you are conditioned to want certain substances to respond to certain behaviors or certain stimuli, then it can be changed again so that your biology now no longer prefers alcohol in the situation, or cocaine in this situation, or heroin in this situation. The power then becomes yours, the individual. And again, stop recovering, start living. Focus on the things you want in your life. You have the power to control and create your life. You don't need to wait for anybody else. You're not dependent on anybody else unless you choose to be. If you make the choice that you're going to give your power of creation over to somebody else, some other agency, some other entity or faction or belief system or advertisement, marketing campaign, well then you've made your choice, and you will take whatever they give you. If someone pulls up and says, hey, you want to go for a ride? Get in the car. And you get in the car. If you don't ask where they're going and have some trust that they're telling you the truth, you don't know where you're going to end up. And so when we blindly put our faith and trust into anything, we don't know where we're going to end up. And so that's kind of going in a completely different direction. But let me link it up and then turn this video off so I don't go crazy or something. So if you don't know if you don't know where the person you're believing is going, then you're going to end up somewhere you don't expect to be. So if you follow the medical model, or you follow what the experts say, or you follow whoever is telling you, the AA groups and stuff like that, this is how addiction is, this is what you need to do to deal with it, manage it, and this is how you're going to be forever, well then that's where you're going to end up. If you want to be a recovering addict, then go to AA. Then go participate in these programs. If you want to be a healthy person who's in control of their life, someone with liberty, an independent free will person, then do the things that you want to do that don't cause harm to others and that benefit you in the long run. And you do that through your own choice. And it starts with the thoughts. So, addiction is not a disease. I can't say addiction is not a disease, because when you say is not a disease, it's hard to say unless you really think about it, at least for me, because I slur words together. So maybe that's why I don't want to call it a disease, because I can't say it properly. But pattern of conditioned behavior just rolls off the tongue. That's why, because addiction is a pattern of conditioned behavior because it's easier to say. So that's all for that one. And that's what I think about that. And hopefully that's helpful or useful or not. It doesn't matter. I just want to say it. And so I did. Now it's on video. So this is about. Okay. Thanks for watching.